Programming made possible by Team Kentucky, Cabinet for Economic Development, Shepherdsville, Bullitt County Tourist and Convention Commission, Kentucky Lake Tourism, Danville Tourism, historically bold, and Harrodsburg Mercer County Tourist Commission. Thank you for your support.
Did you know Kentucky has more navigable miles of water than any other state in the U.S. except Alaska?
Is Alaska still a state?
It includes 90,000 miles of streams and dozens of rivers.
It's also quite famous for some other liquids, those which flow from a barrel, that being beers, bourbons, and wine.
Many of the world's best-known distilleries can be found right here in the Bluegrass State, and interestingly enough, pretty darn close to many of our lakes, rivers, and streams.
We're here to take you on an expedition of the secrets and histories of our intricate waterways while visiting Kentucky's distilleries, breweries, and wineries.
I'm Carrie.
And I'm Kyle. And we're two Kentuckians who are pretty proud of our state and want to share a sip of what the Commonwealth has to offer.
Kyle, did you finally crawl out of bed?
Reluctantly, I did. I'll have to say it is very cozy back there.
It is. It's such a lovely house. I'm glad we found it. So did you solve the riddle in your dreams last night, Kyle?
That? You mean the old tub thing, the German immigrant is sampling his medicine and all that nonsense? Well, I'll just have you know that I talked to several people yesterday about that thing, and I pretty much have it figured out.
Oh, yeah?
Problem is, I went to 2 wineries and 4 roses, and I forgot whatever it was they told me. So
I think I've got a pretty good shot at this one.
You think so?
I've gotten some good clues. You know, Kyle, I could have actually walked here because we are surrounded on 3 sides by Bernheim.
That's right. You hiked Bernheim yet? How was that?
It was lovely. It was so beautiful. How about you? Did you learn anything on your tour?
I learned that there's a lot of very fun and creative wines. And good friend Brent over at 4 Roses, we did a little barrel tasting.
Oh.
A little recipe sampling, and I always come away with lots of education there.
I've got a little surprise for you though before we get going.
I love surprises.
Something that'll wake you up, get that heart racing.
I don't know that that's a safe thing these days to have happen.
Yeah, I think you'll like this one.
You think so?
Yeah.
All right, you need an extra couple of pushes before we...
No.
You sure?
No.
You sure?
Come on, Kyle.
Fine, show me the surprise. Carrie, I gotta say, I am actually pretty excited that we're here at go-kart track. This is a pretty cool idea. You know, when I was a kid, I had a little 2-seat go-kart, and I remember getting that for Christmas. The first thing I did was this close to just completely running over my little sister. So a lot of good memories with
Well, there's no chance you're gonna catch me today, much less run me over, Kyle.
Right.
Yes, but you know, I thought before you finish your tour, you might be okay to drive.
Well, it
So
is
I
a good
thought we
thing,
would
yes.
start here.
We'll start here before the wine.
And you know, Kart Country is a fantastic place, Kyle. It's been here for 42 years, which is a little older than me, but not quite as old as you, Kyle.
Funny.
But it provides great family entertainment. There's go-karts for the little kids, and there's one for the big kids, too.
Well, it looks like a pretty expansive track we got going on here. I mean,
It is. It's very
flying
special.
all over the place.
Most of them are only about 800 feet long, and this one is 8,000 feet long.
So I'm gonna have to use my GPS on the phone to know where
It's
I go.
about a mile and a half, Kyle, so I don't think you'll get too lost. But there are no guardrails, so you gotta stay on the road.
So I'll be able to watch you fly right off into a field,
Not a chance.
burst into flames.
No.
And I say flames because this is a liquid. You know, our show is about liquids. It's petroleum Gasoline, ethanol for gasoline, you know, that's made during some of the same science that we use in distilling, yeast and all that thing. So this all ties in very well.
Of course it does.
Absolutely.
Well, Kyle, are you ready for me to beat you?
Well, maybe, how fast are we gonna be going? Like 60, 70, 80
I
miles an hour?
think about 27. But you've got 9 horses under the hood there, Kyle.
9 horses,
9 horses.
27. Right.
Yep, it's gonna feel like 1,000.
It better.
I got you.
Let's mount up. John, we're out here where the magic happens, my friend.
How are you?
Sir?
Good to see you.
Love
Good to
seeing
see
the
you.
stainless steel because I know things are happening that is making this stuff, and that's what we're all about.
The magic is here.
Oh, MillaNova.
Yeah.
All right, tell me about MillaNova.
We came up with the name. My wife's maiden name is Terranova. My last name is Miller, so hence the MillaNova. Actually, our Mafia Merlot has our label on it,
Mafia Merlot.
and it has a picture of my wife's grandfather.
And this is the third stop on the wine gauntlet. I see right here we have a port, which is unique. I don't see a lot of ports in Kentucky, and I'm a big fan of ports, because you can't beat it. And this is a blackberry.
It is, yes. And you know, it's really interesting. This was actually barreled for 5 years. Now, my friend, we don't actually call this port. We just call it barreled blackberry because in the United States, you can't refer to port.
True. This one, I want you to tell me about this. This looks great. And you know what, by the way, you gotta check these labels out because it is very Art Deco, and I think that is something to be said if you look at these, the way these are designed, which is really, really unique too. But this is a Cab Sav, Cabernet Sauvignon, for you amateurs out there. Reserve X, tell me about this one.
This Cab X, it was put in a barrel and left in the barrel for 3 years. And I was like, you know, these 2 barrels are exceptional, so let's just hang on to them. So a couple of years went by, 3 turned into 5. Then COVID came and we lost another couple of years. And the next thing you know, this had been in the barrel for 10 years.
You are a man much more patient than I, sir.
Well,
That's why I brew beer. 6 weeks is all I can wait.
well, I was having wine all the time I was waiting, so I wasn't real patient.
So this is what we've got, and we've got 2 different ways this is presented here. I see we've got our decanter here.
Yes, yeah, because the key to this wine is to let it breathe.
Okay.
So I'm going to pour just a little bit for you and let you have an opportunity to swirl it and to taste it. And
Oh wow,
says it all.
that really does. I mean that's got some stuff because it's just that aged smooth. The tannins are really controlled here for a cab.
Yeah.
But it's still got the dry, but it just got the character.
Now I gotta let you taste this port.
Yes, that's right. Look at this.
Now this is what they call a tawny port.
Yes, right.
And-
I was going to ask which type. There's
Yeah.
what, 2 types of ports, is that right? 2
There are, yes.
primary types.
And typically a lot of them have a little bit of a vanilla, and they're usually sweet. Now this one is sweet, but it's not overly sweet.
And you can get, yes, sweeter, a little higher in alcohol content, and a lot of different things going on. I had ports with
everything from describing to leather to tobacco to cinnamon, or I mean, it's just all kinds of.
This is great with a cigar.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes. This is blackberry.
It is.
Blackberry.
It is a blackberry barrel port.
Oh yeah. That makes me wish that I had just had a steak dinner with a glass of this.
It's
And I was sitting there with some cobbler, ice cream, and a cigar. Take that, Portugal. Take that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is legit.
We are really proud of many of our wines, and certainly these two.
Oh, wow. That's great, though. What a place. Love it out here. I got a riddle. I got to figure out this riddle about Bullitt County. I'm going to throw this at you.
Lay it on
See
me.
your skills. You can just tell me the answer. It'd be great. I don't bother people about it. So here's the riddle. You can take the long lick in an old tub to find this German immigrant's legacy, but you can't try his medicine.
I'm afraid you got me there.
The quest continues. Well, I thought I'd ask anyways.
Yeah.
This is great. John, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very
This is
welcome.
beautiful, and this is absolutely delicious.
Thank you.
Really-
we really
yeah.
like to hear that.
Yes. Cheers.
Bob, thanks for meeting me today. It is a gorgeous day and I can't complain. I've got my toes in the water
Right on.
and I haven't taken a sip out of it yet, but is it gonna be salty?
You know, people ask me that all the time while I'm giving tours. The Salt River is named such because of all the natural salt deposits that are on shore. There are all kinds of regions, creeks, little areas of the community in this area that are referred to as licks. There's Bullitt's Lick. I live off Flat Lick Road. They're named that because of these natural salt deposits that aren't here in the middle of the river. The river just happens to run alongside these natural salt deposits.
And that was one of the earliest industries in this part of the state, correct?
That's right.
Salt?
It was the first industry of the area. Salt was a natural commodity. We needed that 250 years ago. If you didn't have salt, you weren't able to prepare your meats and stow them away for the winter months. So salt was very valuable. Stories abound with people coming from 100 miles away to collect salt here. There were salt kettles lined up and down the river here where folks would use the water to cut through the clay that contained salt and create some product that they could use.
Well, I know salt was not only integral to the first industry on the water, but salt was also really important to the settlers for the bison.
There's all these rivers, creeks, streams, regions of this part of the state that are referred to as licks. And they were connected between these bison paths. And that's really part of the wilderness trail that Daniel Boone continued to follow as he made his way throughout the state.
So it's just a lot of history in central Kentucky, and the Salt River drains a lot of the state in this area. And I know there's several different forks. There's Floyd's Fork, the Rolling Fork, and then the Salt, and they all come together and go through Fort Knox, I
That's right,
understand.
yep.
And then they empty into the Ohio.
Correct, yeah. We also have the Chaplain River and the Beach Fork. That drains the Bardstown area, the bourbon capital of the world area, and it all flows through here.
Well, I know we're not allowed to paddle through Fort Knox.
Negative, no.
But I would love to put a boat on the water. Is there an area that's a little deeper we might be able to paddle through?
Absolutely. We're not going very far in this stuff. So just a mile upstream, there's a great deeper area where we can put in and pull out safely. It's public property, so we're welcome to do so.
Wonderful. Well, let's head up that way.
Gotcha.
It is a very nice day to be on the river, Bob.
Absolutely.
I think in a previous life you told me you used to do this a lot more often.
Oh yeah, while I was a newspaper reporter, I'd spend my weekends with a buddy of mine renting canoes and kayaks along Little Salt River here.
Nice. Did you take folks out for paddles or?
Yeah, there's a year-round section of Salt River between Mount Washington and Shepherdsville that can be floated all year long, no matter how dry or shallow it becomes. And we use that. And we had a lot of little church groups and people just getting out for a day or two having fun on the river.
It is a nice, I bet it's probably a popular place to put a rod in. I just saw a big fish jump a few minutes ago.
Saw that too, yep. Yeah, there's plenty of fishermen up and down this area. A lot of the bigger fish, they get lodged right here because of a rock basin just downstream. So they're able to catch some of the bigger fish, from carp to giant blue catfish. Further upstream, there's a ton of gar and fun things to watch. And then further upstream, you have the Taylorsville Lake State Park, which is a large lake. They dammed that about 40, 50 years ago now. But that really changed the river from what it was originally.
I've heard this expression used a few times, and I thought maybe you might be able to explain it to me, called "we'll row you up the salt."
Yep, it is a common expression people use, and it's basically not a positive. If somebody's going to row you up Salt River, they're probably going to leave you. One story relating to that phrase relates to a candidate for office. And he was supposed to row up the Ohio River, but he ended up becoming rowed up the Salt River instead, where he missed the election.
That wouldn't have been Henry Clay by chance, would it?
That's exactly what it was. One of Kentucky's great statesmen, Henry Clay.
But of course, the big draw for the Salt River is the water, right? It's just integral to the bourbon industry.
Water's your #1 ingredient for any whiskey. Without 100 barrels of water, you're not making a single barrel of Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey. And the Salt River drains most of the historic bourbon country, including Bardstown, which is considered the bourbon capital of the world, on up to Lawrenceburg. And on this side of Lawrenceburg, you have a couple distilleries, some old, some being revived and brought back to life.
And they are all along the Salt, so that they can pull that wonderful limestone filtered water
Yep.
out. Bob, this has been lovely. Thank you for taking me out today. But before we head in, I was wondering if you might help me solve a riddle I have.
What's the riddle?
All right, it says, you can take the long lick in an old tub to find this German immigrant's legacy, but you can't taste his medicine.
Oh, that's a great riddle. Long Lick, as I mentioned before, we have lots of little creeks named after salt licks in the area. So Long Lick is the name of a creek. But I think I'll let you gather some more clues throughout our trip before I give you the answer.
Oh, come on. I gotta beat Kyle. It's my turn to win the riddle.
No favoritism here.
No.
Finally, I can sit down because you know what? Jim, you are the 4th stop on the gauntlet. It looks like you got a nice glass in front of me, which I appreciate, sir.
Absolutely.
Tell me about this wonderful vineyard you've got out here and what's growing and how'd you start it?
Well, the first vineyard, actually, we're sitting on it. There was 53 vines. There was a wooded area across here, and just did it for something to do. So I had a brother-in-law that was growing grapes, and I thought, well, I bought a book and read it. And
Free time, read and.
So in those vines, I think we had like 6 different varietals, and the one that really just stood out was the diamond grape. It was the Morris Diamond. I can't say there hasn't been times that we struggled a little bit.
Sure.
But up until 2012, I worked a full-time job, so we weren't really dependent on this.
Right.
And,
Well, now you told me this was a hobby, right? This is something
this
you
started
all
as a
enjoyed
hobby.
doing.
Yeah. And so in 12, I retired, and
Voila.
you know, we have a custom crush pad.
10 years later now, here we are in
Yeah.
2022.
To tickle to death.
And I understand that you've won some trophies.
Oh yeah, we've won.
You got a few trophies that for some things you've done. Tell me a little bit about those, what you won for, because I know right here in front of us is Shepherdsville, and we've got a few right here. Right?
Won a Commissioner's Cup first time out. The state Shepherdsville Rosé was also a Commissioner's Cup in 21, and we're really pleased on how things have progressed.
And you can come out here, by the way, folks. You know, we talk about Downstream. Downstream is your ultimate flight show for touring Kentucky. This is a flight right here of wine, a wine flight. And I'm sure that these 3 bottles are featured in this flight. And I know you've got the Chamberson Rosé.
Yeah.
Which is very unique.
Estate, yeah.
That's grown right here.
2021 wine. Yeah.
And then we've got the Four Horsemen. Tell me just real quick about this Four Horsemen, because again, I thought that was very interesting. That is a grape and a variety that I haven't even heard of. Not that I know. Honestly,
a lot of people say you can't grow vinifera in Kentucky. Well, I say you can grow anything you want to in Kentucky if you do it the right way.
It's true.
So I planted Petit Syrah, Petit Verdot, and Carmenère. 3 of the Bordeaux's that are really not thought a lot about, but they really shine, stand alone. But my imagination was that I wanted to do a field blend with them.
Right.
And through the growing process, it took us 7 years to get to this bottle. We had 2 polar vortexes that froze.
Just for the growing. We're not talking about aging or anything like that.
It took 7 years to get to this process. We made the wine, and I'm going, I like it. It's nouveau. The grapes are young. I need to put a little kiss with it. So I decided to bring some Alicante Boucher from the north coast of California in. So we added 15% of this.
Hell yeah.
So we put 15% of this to it, and it just gave it such a nice spicy softness to it that I was really, really pleased with it. And the reason it's got the Four Horsemen nomenclature, I was watching a news program, and it wasn't good about the state that our economy's in and other stuff. And I'm thinking about a name for this, and I'm going, I got it.
Yeah.
So I get online and I find this artwork. And I'm going, that's exactly what I want in a bottle. I'm going to call it the Four Horsemen.
Fits right now, too. I got to solve this riddle for the show, the end of the show, because I got to beat my co-host, Carrie. So this, you can take the, wait. You can take the long lick in an old tub and find this German immigrant's legacy. But you can't sample his medicine. Do you have any idea? You know what? And I'm fine with that because this is good wine and we should just drink it. Let Carrie figure out the riddle.
Bradley, this space is beautiful. I know it is brand new, but did you bring these giant, beautiful trees in here?
We sure did. Brought them in full grown. Yeah, this whole thing has been a big renovation over the last couple years. Not only is the restaurant behind us brand new, but also there's a whole experience down at the American Outpost where there's retail and obviously you can get great hats like this and whatnot. And yeah, so the whole property has seen kind of an overhaul in the last 2 years.
Well, you can have a great day here. You can come in, you can do a tour. I see lots of families here having dinner afterwards. It kind of brings it full circle to a great experience.
Absolutely. You know, this is, Jim Beam is a family company and we're a family restaurant, you know, so it doesn't matter if you got kids, whatever, bring them in. We can't wait to feed them too.
I saw you had a lot of folks celebrating birthdays inside.
We're a very popular birthday destination for sure. Being right at the tip of the Bourbon Trail, people tend to finish with us.
Bradley, this food looks incredible.
Thank you.
What do I have here to?
All right, we can just go over the experience here. So this is our hot brown pizza. So this is a riff on kind of like the classic Louisville, Kentucky experience with the sandwich, right, for the Brown Hotel. This is our riff on it. We've done it with pizza here. This is our, what we call the Bullitt County dip.
Ooh.
So this is a brisket sandwich, basically a riff on a French dip, obviously.
I could smell the brisket smoking when I came up.
For sure, it's delicious. We obviously smoke it here in a smoker that's right over there.
Nice.
This is our burger, double stack, American cheddar, smoked onion aioli with fries, super delicious brioche bun. And then up in front here, that's our bourbon balls.
You gotta have the bourbon balls for dessert.
Gotta have it, it's a classic.
Now, has bourbon inspired this entire menu, or where did you get your inspiration for this menu?
So inspiration is both obviously the history and the family of the Beams, and pulled off of some of their own family recipes that we're influenced by, as well as obviously we're gonna use bourbon whenever we can. So we've got bourbon in the actual dip that we use for that, and then obviously there's the Jim Beam White in the bourbon balls themselves.
Ooh.
Yes.
The food looks delicious. I cannot wait to dig into it.
Thank you, I hope you do.
I certainly will. I think I'm gonna start over here with the pizza and work my way to that burger.
That's the move.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Hey,
Hey!
what are you doing out here with all this food?
I was getting hungry, so I had to start without you.
Apparently. My goodness, you can work on an appetite. This looks amazing.
It does, and I met the chef, and he told me about all his delicious recipes.
And he looks like he used some Jim Beam in it as well.
He did? Oh, I did get you a drink,
Oh, bless
Kyle.
your heart. Thank you so much for that. That's all I really need. No, I don't. I don't need this. I have run the gauntlet with every winery in Bullitt County, and it was so much fun. I gotta tell you, you gotta try these places because they're all unique, they're all family owned, and they're all fun.
Well, it has been a great adventure in Bullitt County. I've had a wonderful time in Bernheim Forest, on the river. There's been a lot to do here. I learned, actually, Kyle, what makes the water so special for Jim Beam and Four Roses. It is all about the filtration through the Bernheim Forest.
Well, that forest is doing a great job. Speaking of more water, our good friend Brent Elliott at Four Roses took me on a rickhouse tour. We did a little barrel tasting, and that was fun, and they're doing good things with that water as well. So, did you have any luck with our German immigrant and his old tub and legacies and medicines? And
Actually,
all that
Kyle, I
business?
think I solved it this time.
Did you? Well, it's about time you
It
solved
turns out that Mr. Bernheim himself was not only a German immigrant, but he made his fortune bourbon distilling. And that's
Well, of
how he was
course.
able to leave the beautiful Bernheim Forest to us. That was his gift to us, Kyle.
Well, that's a great gift.
It
He could have just
is.
left us bourbon, but whatever, we'll take some trees. I'm blown away, like how much there is to do. The wineries, the distilleries, the food options, the recreation, the forest. You can spend days here. It has been an absolute blast. You gotta come out and check this out. I mean, so much fun.
I don't want to go home. I'd say we dig into this brisket
Eating
and
this
burger.
food and drinking this, I may not be going home. All right, my dear.
Until
You know
next
what?
time.
We'll see you
Downstream.